So, Fernando Frias, I'm just curious, can you imagine having made I'm No Longer Here if you hadn't found Juan Daniel Garcia Trevino?
Um, that's an interesting question. I've never actually thought of it. When I made Ya No Estoy Aquí, I had very clear in my head. I had the two things very clear: the ending and Ulysses as a character. And the race for Ulysses was like the toughest one in casting, so there were other people, and Juan Daniel just came from behind, and he's incredible, definitely. He didn't know how to dance before we did the film, for example. He learned to dance for the film. He never actually witnessed that countercultural movement, because the film is about the disappearance of such group. So there were other contenders, with different virtues. And something I say often is that working with people from Monterrey, from the places that the film pictures, one of the biggest challenges was not the lack of talent, but the complicated lives people have over there, especially young people, and the film reflects on this lack of opportunities and lack of upward social mobility. But there were incredible people that I saw, and whose conditions were like really difficult for them to come and work with us. And when doing one of the richest process of doing Ya No Estoy Aquí was the process of, at least for me, working with the kids and forming Los Tercos, the stubborns, this gang that didn't exist. They didn't know each other before. And for some, I was stubborn myself to make it work, because they have to, they are young parents, or they have jobs, and so in order to bring them and do this kind of like summer camp we did with the acting coach stuff, we try to, from the production angle, try to create the circumstances for them to join. Juan Daniel was, I don't know, it is like an incredible, I wouldn't say discovery, because I'm not discoverer, but he was already playing music, and I think it would have been a matter of time. He's an incredible human being, not only a great performer, and I deeply admire him. There's so much I can tell you about him.
Well, discovery maybe not, but breakthrough actor at the Ariel Awards, and this is your film. 10 wins out of 13 nominations. You win 3 yourself. And then soon after all that, you get the news that the Academy has chosen your film to represent Mexico at the Oscars. What was that phone call like, or email, to be told this?
It's a great question, because there's always confusion in Mexico with the Academy Awards, in the US with the Oscars, because one thing is to represent Mexico, and another very different thing is to make it to the shortlist or to the nomination. So when before there were some fake news. That's where I'm going. So some people share oh, Ya No Estoy Aquí is nominated for an Oscar. I'm like, we are very far from that. And we're sending that comment. We're very far from that, And then one day I'm here in Mexico City. I normally live in Brooklyn, in New York, but I'm here, and I was here at my mom's place, and my mom is like, "Hey, congratulations! You are the one who's the film is gonna be." And I'm like, "Mom, that's fake news," and it was not. Actually, it was. That's how I found out that the Academy, the Mexican Academy, selected us. And I didn't really think too much about, everything that already happened with the film. For me, it was already incredible. And especially, we have a very unique story. We premiered at this festival in Mexico, Morelia, and it has never happened before that the same film took the jury award and the audience award. So that was already something very interesting and incredible. And then the way the Mexican audience and the people in Colombia, Argentina, Brazil have responded to the film, it's ridiculous. I would have never in a million years imagined that. And so for me, representing Mexico it's incredible because it's a film that was first loved here in Mexico and started its path here in Mexico, and now it's something selected to go further away, and that reflects on, I think, the tone of the film, because normally, like, the misery of Mexico or the violence of Latin America has become an export product, and sometimes it's appealing outside, and sometimes films need to go outside and make a big shock for a different audience, and then they are like only recognized here. So for me, and it also reflects on the path and the journey of this very special film, because it has shown me that nothing is written, and right now I'm very excited to be here.
Well, and I think you mentioned the disappearance of this counterculture, because the film is set in 2011, and a decade on, the Colombianos it's not as well known in Monterrey as it would have been 20 years ago. Your film does such an important job of memorializing that. Did you understand that when you were making it?
Absolutely, that was part of the idea, like, to talk about, like, there were different things that I was responding to when making this film. One of them was like, the world keeps repeating itself. The more I travel, the more I see everything looking exactly the same, and I'm tired of that. And I like cultural accidents and the spontaneity. And when I was doing the research for this film, I saw this countercultural movement fading away, because it was the so-called war on drugs, that political strategy that was incredibly violent in the 2010-2011 around that administration. It was, in my opinion, a super poor, badly planned, and worstly executed strategy. Because the damage it did, it's just like hard to explain. So by doing the research, and getting deep into this contestatory movement, every countercultural response to something, I saw what they were responding to, and of course they have the baggy clothes, that come from the cholos, that come from the Chicanos, that come from the suit, and it's like enlarging your persona, wanting to dignify, and it's also a film that tries to go against prejudice in Mexico, because people assume that if you are brown, poor, and from that settlement, you are dangerous and you are ugly, and they are like, okay, I'm marginalized, I'm gonna reinvent myself. Where society and where family have let us waiting or standing, my gang stands up, and I change my name, and my name is no longer Fernando or Juan Daniel, I create another name, and the last name is the name of your street or the name of your gang. So it's a way of, like, embracing this rejection, this stigmatization, this marginalization, and create an identity, which is it's also something very particular from those years, from like the growing years and the youth, and the whole idea behind the film is like to show how fast youth expires in these dire conditions, dire circumstances, and that's why there's the metaphor with the slow down cumbia, with the cumbia rebajada, as something that, like, you don't want the music to stop because there's no future,
Yeah. And I thought before I watched the film, I had an expectation where I read about the casting, that it was going to be handheld and very gritty, and it's so cinematic.
No, it was never the idea to. I think that's something I haven't read that, but one of the things we had clear since the beginning, it was that I was not going to work with a score or with handheld at all. The idea was to look. The place is a character, and it's a film about like a forced migration or displacement, and I didn't want to like accentuate certain values or cliches of like or telling the camera movements, informing how the audience should feel, because it's a sensitive subject, it's a social issue film, and I ask myself the question, well, then if you are going to look in such way, what you call cinematic, why? How can you allow yourself to do so? And the answer that I found is that it's a film that it's structured in two parallel times, right? And there's like flashbacks, if you like. So when he's in New York, it's all about the nostalgia and missing what he left, what he's losing in Mexico. So for me, the emotional vehicle is the nostalgia. And memory is not information. Memory are emotions, and so the way in which I allow myself to look in that way to Monterrey is through the feelings of my protagonist.
Oh, well, you were talking about the film going beyond Mexico, and now it's on Netflix, so it's around the world. And I'm curious, when you watched the little conversation between Alfonso Cuarón and Guillermo del Toro about your movie, what emotions did that stir in you to see these two Oscar winners, people that have won, Best International Feature at the Oscars, talk about being fans of your film?
I would do a terrible job trying to describe that emotion with words, I didn't know each other. I didn't know any of them before I made the film. But after the film got released in May in Netflix, they also didn't know who I was, and they called me and they reached out. And they were incredibly generous, each one in their own way. But when I heard that video, I couldn't even finish it, honestly, because it's just what this couldn't this, of course, the hidden camera. What are you joking? But then I've had private conversations with each of them, and then their analysis or their opinions go deep, and their inquiries and their support. But that first day, it was a Saturday when it got released, and somebody sent it to me, and I was like, what? I couldn't really understand what was going on, honestly.
Well, they're saying what I think everyone that watches your film is thinking, but not as eloquently as those two did. So, well, listen, thank you for talking to us, and I look forward to our group conversation too.
Thank you.